What's up? What's up? And what is up? It is another Friday. And while it is not Friday morning, which is our normal way of coming to you with the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, it is Friday afternoon, yet you will still get some Ball Hawk Sports Talk. We're coming this afternoon. I was traveling, and so the crew was nice enough to oblige and allow me to do an afternoon show. So I'm very thankful of that. This particular episode is going to be entitled Not Guilty. It's obvious why. On a day where Kyle Rittenhouse, the verdict is in and not guilty on all charges. And it seems like an emotional roller coaster when we see these cases, the high profile cases, things that we think when we look at the activities and the behavior of others, we think that fall outside of the normal means of treating humans. And all too often it is during these protests, during the moments when people of color especially try to speak up for themselves and get justice, that there's some other occurrence. In this case, it was Kyle Rittenhouse that led to a trial in Kenosha, Wisconsin, that led to now a not guilty verdict on all charges that continue to from a judicial system, put us in a position where we ask, what's next? And so we didn't want to make light of it, but at the same time, we felt remiss if we didn't acknowledge that this not guilty verdict on all charges, the possessing a firearm or underage possessing a firearm was dropped. And so we felt it would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge it. And so we're going to try to talk sports, business, entertainment. We're going to do it the way that we do it. But we also wanted to acknowledge that, indeed, this is a day where a lot of us continue to scratch our heads and ask, what's next? Rhetorically and cynically and painfully, we ask, what's next? As an attorney, you look at what not guilty means. Or I've looked at what not guilty means, and to know the prosecutor had an uphill battle, and there will be questions as to the case that they put on. But all of the legalese aside, just the normal humanity of it makes you ask, what's next? So with that as a backdrop, with not guilty as a title, we're still going to hop in. We're still going to do a show about sports, business, entertainment. We're still going to continue and fight the good fight. So stay with us. Stay tuned. It's going to be a brief show, quick show. We're going to do all producers cut today. But it's still going to be the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy B Brown ESQ, aka the Ball Hawk, aka the Mile South, aka Mr. Excessive Celebration. We'd be remiss if we didn't ask you to like, comment, and share. Tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and absolutely hit the subscribe button on both the YouTube channel and in the podcast forum of your choice. With that having been said, let's start this show. Let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up and stay woke, because this is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy B Brown ESQ, aka the Ball Hog, aka the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide, and we're gonna give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. What's up, gentlemen? On a day like this, man, let's just hop right in. It is the news that is breaking, and is the news that is not only breaking from a disclosure standpoint, but breaking in the sense that it is breaking hearts. Breaking in the sense that it is probably going to be breaking and dividing communities. It's going to be breaking and dividing families. As we get ready for the Thanksgiving holiday, people are going to be debating whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse should indeed have been found not guilty. I hope not. Fingers crossed, prayers lifted, that this will not lead to any violence in communities. But I would be lying to myself if I said I didn't expect it to lead to at least some violence. I know the victims here weren't necessarily people of color, but the issue at hand, the protest that led to all of this, was indeed about justice in a world that seems to continue to be unjust for people of color. So, um, I, communities, are on edge right now. Riots are probably in the making, and I hope that they're not. I hope that there's no looting being planned. I hope that the businesses are safe, considering that we've spent 20 months dealing with the ripple effect of a pandemic and what businesses already are struggling with. So I hope that's the case, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't expect that to be the case. So here we are, not guilty verdict. And it'll lead us to sports business entertainment, but I wanted to start the show. Instead of bearing the lead, let's just hop right at it. The not guilty verdict was rendered about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. And when you first heard it, what did you think?
I wasn't surprised. I felt like the judge was fighting so hard to make sure that he got off, that just momentum was there from throwing out the charges that you couldn't defend, to make sure those weren't guilty.
Right.
The gun charges, you can't defend those. He's guilty for sure. He throws those charges out. It's terrible. Telling the prosecution that they cannot ever refer to the people who got shot as victims.
Right.
Never heard that before. But you can refer to them as looters, rioters, and whatever negative, which I don't know they've ever been convicted of all that stuff.
One set of terms being considered fair.
Yeah, and the other set of terms,
the victim, considered
doing that
being somehow
justifiable, which is crazy at the end of the day. So he did that. Then he didn't sequester the jury. He let them take home, unprecedented, let them take home the jury instructions and stuff to the house so they can discuss it with their loved ones.
Right.
And then he fawned over them at the end. He was so happy at the end. I've never heard anyone talk as long about the juries or whatever. So when you saw that and they came back, and when I heard them say that they have one verdict for everything, a consistent verdict across the board, I don't understand how the first guy personally, doesn't get called that was more murder, because the guy basically threw a beer on him and then he shot him. I don't know what happened before, so I'm not going to say that I know all the facts of the case, but it just seems weird that each and every person who got shot was considered to be self-defense. I mean, the guy basically just shot around in the air for a while. So it is what it is at this point. I'm not surprised by it. I don't think there's going to be riots for some reason. I just don't think there are. I don't know if we'll riot it out. But we'll see what happens. Kyle got to be careful, though, because he's very recognizable. He's going to have to go hide in the mountains or something like that, because somebody might come get him. Not me, though. That's not a threat for those listening. I'm not going to get nobody. I'm going to be cooking food and hanging out this weekend and going about my life. So just so you know.
ETP, it's Friday afternoon, man. And we've got, and we'll get into it. High school football. We got college football heating up. The NBA is getting very interesting. NFL is beyond the halfway point, and yet on what should be a very festive and exciting sports weekend. On this Friday afternoon, there is a not guilty verdict that is leading all of the news. It's a not guilty verdict that is on front and center, top of mind for most of us. And so when you heard not guilty, what did it make you think? How are you feeling? And it's probably not as monumental where you're like, when that verdict came out, I was in this place at that time. Right. But it is monumental enough to discuss. So I throw the same question to you. You heard not guilty. How did it make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, same boat, right? I'm not surprised by it. I'm not shocked by it. I don't find any pleasure one way or the other. I just sit back and think there's people that that died in this process, and ultimately, there's always situations like this that raise questions about gun laws and the accessibility of firearms and things of that nature that really kind of tug at the fabric of what American society is and how much, the prevalence of guns and the accessibility of guns. So
Right.
that's all, regardless of your politics, there's people that die at the hands of, people with firearms, and it goes fast. And I'm just disturbed by, the idea that, people are looking at this as, some people are looking at this as a miscarriage of justice. Other people are looking at it as, the extreme upholding of justice, depending on what side of the coin you're on. But when it's all said and done, I think it's really just, it's really like a testament to our lack of commitment to humanity, right? Like, to get like super philosophical about it, we're talking about right and wrong versus, what's the best way for us to govern people in a way that's going to protect ourselves and each other as citizens. And this is an instance where some people may be emboldened to walk around with AR-15s in situations where they weren't before, and then other people might feel like they need to take more precautions to protect themselves, which could essentially, proliferate violence. So
Right.
I just hope that it doesn't have any, long-term effects. But, to your point, in the short term, I'm sure there's many people that are angry, rightfully so, and some people that are angry, unrightfully so. But all that to say, there's lives involved. The person that got off was a kid when it happened. It was it was a really unfortunate situation, but at the end of the day, it's just sad, and I don't really have
Yeah.
like a visceral or emotional reaction to it, because unfortunately, gun violence is so common in so many different forms in this country that I think it's a bigger issue than the incident at hand.
Right. And we'll leave it there, man. I'll just say this. And you talked about Kyle Rittenhouse being a kid, but at certain ages, I think, especially teenagers of color, we're not looked at as kids.
No.
I had the pleasure of listening to Brian Stevenson, who is the inspiration behind the movie Just Mercy. He is also the gentleman behind Equal Justice Initiative, and he had a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous conversation with an audience that I was blessed enough to be a part of, and to hear him talk about how young people in certain communities have been deemed adults, and then to look at this trial and the reaction to the verdict, it just seems different, man. And I'll leave it there. I wanted to entitle the show "Not Guilty," and I wanted to open the show up with at least a conversation about how it made you feel. And I think we all are all saying that we're not surprised, but also just if anybody that happens to be listening is provoked to go do something outside of their home in form of a retaliation, or yeah, but not even, but because you understand why. But we're just going to encourage everyone to protect our communities, remain safe, and let's do more together. And then we'll leave it there. Kyle Rittenhouse has gotten a lot of attention through several networks, so we're gonna go back to sports business entertainment and stay there for a while. For those of you who are in our live audience listening, first and foremost, thank you. Really appreciate the support. Now, as always, we ask like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe both in the YouTube world and in whatever the podcast format that you use. I see some people here. What's up, y'all? This is not our normal day and time. A normal day, but not normal time. I see some people saying what's up. Shout out to all of y'all. What's up, my man AJ Banks in the building? Trisha. What's up, Trisha from St. Thomas? My man DP is in the building. I'm just giving you guys a little shout out because I really, really appreciate you following the show with in what is not a normal time. And please continue. If you want to vent in the comments, please do. We will acknowledge the comments. I like this one comment about from my man Eric. What's up, Eric? We don't need another Rittenhouse because of Rittenhouse. And powerful words, because whatever you choose to do, make sure you do so in a way that's safe, sound, so you'll be here to continue fighting the fight. because people lost their lives. And they initially went out of the house that day to stand up for justice. All right, ETP. It's Friday. We all got jobs, but we ain't got necessarily nothing to do for the next 45 minutes outside of sports, business, and entertainment. While you're getting your notes ready, because it's going to be a whole show of the producer's cut. Normally, I try to navigate and host and present the topics, and we debate. We going straight freestyle. Freestyle Friday, ETP, else the producers, the producer cut. You're going to give us the topics, and we're going to debate in real time. But while you're getting your notes ready, the East Orange Junior Jaguars, Mighty Mike, we do play the Eastern Region Championship tomorrow down in Bucks-Mount County against a team, the Whippets, the Downingtown Whippets is where
whose idea was it to name that dog isn't tough. That's not
Whippet real good. I kind of like the name. We about to whip that, you know what? The Whippets. Yeah, I don't know, man. So it's Ncaa, bro. Do the research on it.
Team mom came up with that.
Team moms.
Yeah, it's not tough.
You can't go with any other name besides Whippets. Y'all support our boys. It's 2 hours away, so I know a lot of our folks can't come. I am going to post about it tonight, but please support us. Lift us up in prayers. 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to take 20 8- and 9-year-old young men onto a battlefield with 7 coaches and wearing just the very simple moniker, Jags. Let's go, Jags. We are absolutely not guilty when it comes to being afraid of this moment. I don't know if any other Junior Jaguars team has won the regionals. We are absolutely not guilty when it comes to any notion that when we show up tomorrow, we are not going to be prepared. So I've been traveling. I went to AC for the legal municipalities. First time going there. First time ever in AC. I've been living in New Jersey since 2006. First time ever to Atlantic City was this past few days. Flew to Arizona for work. Now I'm back. I'm healthy. I touched down. I'm good. Not guilty verdict is the first thing that I heard when I got off the plane, and all I could think about is getting here with you guys. So with no further ado, man, let's give them what we give them. Rough, rugged, and raw. Sports, business, entertainment. The Ball Hawk Sports Talk. What you got for us? ETP, Elster, producer, Freestyle Friday. You control the topics, and we're going to get into some debate. What you got for us, my brother?
All right. So the first topic of the day, earlier this week, the University of Washington Huskies football coach was terminated, effective immediately at the time.
Terminated. Hold on. How many syllables is that? Terminated. You ain't got to use no 4-syllable word to say fired. That man was fired.
They fired his ass. They fired him.
He fired.
So
why was he fired, ETP?
So
illegal use of the hands, I believe.
Illegal use of the hands. So one of his players was penalized with an unsportsmanlike conduct. As a result, on the sideline after the player exited the field, the coach essentially looked like, based on the video, hit him over the head with the clipboard or whatever was in his hand.
Your description
in
was
response,
even worse than it really was. Hit him over the head with the clipboard.
Was in his hand as he
in his helmet.
See, the people who haven't seen the video, the visual you're getting is a guy coming down like these, like
No, he didn't. He didn't break the clipboard over his head, but he basically
he
smacked the kid in his helmet. He smacked the player in his helmet and yelled at him based on his lack of discipline. So after that, he was suspended for the next game, and then the team or the organization decided that they were going to terminate him, and he essentially was given his pink slip. The team at the time, they're now 4-6.
Did they win when he was gone?
They're fourth in the Pac-12, and the question is, was it justified?
I'll let you start, Big Flow Show. What you think, man?
And look, I played for a coach that used to smoke cigarettes on the sideline and would not put his cigarette out if he had to grab your face mask, burn you in your face, punch you in your stomach. That was a little bit rough, but he was beloved. The dude, if you're in a fight, should I come to you and speak to you nicely? Hey, Bobby, could you stop fighting? Or when you've lost control is in a game of contact and emotions and adrenaline, the only way to get control of some grown man that's lost control is to somehow touch him in some way. He didn't hit him in the face with the clipboard in any sort of hard way. He gave him a small smack to the head and pushed him to encourage him to get off. At no point did he make that dude feel any pain, uncomfort, or discomfort or nothing. It wasn't overly crazy, disrespectful. He's trying to break up the dude, get the guy's attention so he could stop. At this point, he wasn't fighting anymore, but he was trying to make it so he would just stop. Shut up, man. You just got us a penalty. I have no problem with what he did. I would have no problem with the coach doing that to my son. It wouldn't even be an issue for me. I think they got rid of him for other reasons. They were like, oh my God, we got out. They probably saved a few $1 million by getting rid of him. But I'm embarrassed to even tell you guys to go look it up and see somebody got fired for it. It's a shame.
ETP, when you saw it, you because it sounds like as you described it, he hit him with the clipboard.
Yeah.
You might be leaning towards thinking they were writing this.
ETP was on the firing committee.
Right.
Yeah.
Hit him with
it's under
clipboard.
review. It's under review.
Do you think that there's no room for it? Because I guess we are in 2021 where if we are soft. We are a soft society. But it's a soft society to everyone. The rules are very clear. Right? Like if you are a subscriber to corporal punishment when it comes to your kids, you know you better not do it in Whole Foods. Somebody's Karen or somebody gonna call the cops on you. You better.
But if you're food for less, go ahead.
You're right. So that's my only thing is he knew the rules in the soft society in which we live, yet he broke the rules. So ETP, you think he was so far out of bounds that the University of Washington was right in terminating, firing that man.
So I have some conflicting views on this. I would say the punishment does not fit the crime for sure. The fact it leads me to believe there was some speculation or there was previous accounts of 2019 where he had an incident as well. So it sounds like there's potentially a pattern of behavior in terms of, just being overly aggressive as a coach. So I don't know what the backstory is, but the punishment definitely, if it's isolated and based on that incident, obviously you shouldn't lose your job over it. I think, someone in the comments, one of the viewers, Patrick Thomas, said we got worse than that in high school. I know I definitely got worse than that in high school. And, it's kind of the nature of the sport of football and the aggressiveness of it and making sure that everybody's ready to go. But on the flip side, putting your hands on somebody, it raises questions, right? And now we're in not so much looking at it from a position of being soft, but player empowerment, right? Like the generation now, players, because of the business side of it and how much money is at stake, and now you have NIL and you have all of these things that have empowered players that they can, commit and they can transfer.
Right.
There's a lot more control there. And so at the end of the day, players in the past would look at the opportunity to play more as, a privilege versus something that they earned, and would be less inclined to speak out about it, where now there's an empowerment, and there's a power dynamic shift where players can actually say, look, I'm not here to get somebody's hands put on me. That's not what I'm here to do. In no other job does that happen, but obviously context is important. That being said, at the end of the day, you're managing, developing professional athletes or, amateur athletes that are professionalized. Sometimes, things get heated. So I don't think the punishment fits the crime, but it does raise the question of, what should be acceptable, what shouldn't. But we've all been through it. If we played a sport, especially if we played football, it's an aggressive culture, and that's par for the course.
So in today's court, sounds like the Big Flow show is saying the man is not guilty. He was just doing what he needed to do in that moment. And it sounds like ETP very eloquently outlined the legalese for why the man is guilty. For me, if I'm the tiebreaker, I'm saying not guilty, because thank God Johnny and Marvin Alexander, who coached the Fort Lauderdale Track Club and coached the Western Tigers, thank God they had a little instrument of corporal punishment, a board, shall I say. And if they ever forgot the board, they would get a switch. And thank God they used to take that board at a certain angle, a certain height, and make sure I turned around and couldn't face them. and went to work on my butt so that the dust came off my rear end. That saved my life and made me make better decisions. Thank God that they did it. I
don't know if I could whoop somebody in track. Y'all got on y'all barely dressed. This dude got on a helmet, shoulder pads, and everything like that. It's a violent game.
Wherever you act up, that's where you're gonna get it with both of them. Ain't nobody tell you act up in them track sweats. You should have thought about that before you acting crazy under them bleachers. We finna go in here and handle this. But thank God they did.
We can only do that in football stuff.
They used to tear us up.
I hope there's a statute of limitations on this story.
No, I was about to say, if anybody think that they finna go talk to Coach, those brothers who saved so many lives, we would break them out of jail. Like, that's how much love we have for them. And you alluded to a particular coach from Notre Dame. I don't think that the two are necessarily mutually exclusive. You can be tough on me, and in this case, put hands on this player, and I still can feel love. But I'm old school, man. I get it. I'm old school. I think the rules are so clear now that the Washington coach, what's his name? Former Washington coach now, because he has been terminated, as Ellis puts it. Fired. He been fired. So former coach, you know the rules, so you gotta be careful. I would say not guilty, but I'm understanding that we're living in a court system when it comes to court of a public opinion with these things, that you can't put your hands on nobody's kids no more. What else you got for us, ETP?
Probably. So we'll move to pro football. Probably a sore spot for you, just given that we're looking at a situation where the New England Patriots are looking pretty strong coming into the second half of the season. Obviously last Sunday they gave your Cleveland Browns a little bit of a lesson.
Cheated. A bunch of cheaters. They cheated. I don't know how they cheated. I'm looking into it. They cheated.
Last night they won 25. They pitched a shutout against the Falcons. So from 28-3 to a shutout. And in the past
the Cleveland Browns scored on the first possession. So technically, from about 7 minutes into the first quarter, they pitched a shutout with the Browns too a week ago. But go ahead.
So so in the past 3 games, they've actually outscored their opponents 94-13 in the past 3 games. So a lot of those free agency pickups, a lot of that money that was being spent by Belichick looks like it's starting to pay off. And Mac Jones may actually be, they're saying he could be a replacement, a new Tom Brady replacement.
Stop it. Cut it out. Sacrilege. Don't talk about
what do you think about the Patriots looking like they could be back in for a deep playoff run?
Deep? Oof. They're going to make the playoffs. Deep?
They are going to make the playoffs. That's almost guaranteed. Deep playoff. I don't know. Mac Jones. So you buying as a New Englander? Are you buying Mac Jones? You buying or selling?
I'm not buying or selling Mac Jones. I'm buying or selling whatever Bill Belichick has in store. Like, clearly the defense is getting it together. You never count out the greatest coach in the game ever. And ultimately, Mac Jones, a lot of pressure being a starting quarterback as a rookie, but when you're in a solid system and you have a good support roster, and especially when your defense is pitching shutouts, you just got to manage the game. And he's got the poise and he's doing what he needs to do. So I don't see them going downhill, but we'll see how far they can take it.
How about this? Let's talk about the Mac Jones predecessor. Because there's a man by the name of Cam Newton who was there before Mac Jones, who, by way of some video, wants the whole world to know that he's back, like a Jay-Z song, baby. He straight up was letting you know he's back. We didn't even talk about it last week. We have so many topics. Sometimes we neglect to talk about ones that are exciting to us, but that is a very exciting one. Cam Newton not only came back with the Carolina Panthers, but when he came back in his very first touch of the football, he took the pigskin across the goal line and scored a touchdown. In his very second touch of the football, I think he threw a touchdown, and he has officially been deemed the starter. What do you think? Guilty or not guilty when it comes to the case of Cam Newton? Is he guilty of being Cam Newton of old and potentially and Carolina looked good, taking Carolina to maybe not a deep run, but maybe to the playoffs? Or are we fooling ourselves, man? He's a shell of his old self, and he's guilty of being a has-been, done, and just trying to savor a few glimpses of what he used to be.
Is running back at the Carolina, or is he out?
I think McCaffrey, I think, is still out. I don't know. I got.
Does he have a chance to come back?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think it's season injured.
I think if McCaffrey comes back, they got a chance to make a little playoff push. I'm not gonna call it a run, more of a push. But I'm happy he's back, man. I'm happy. You know, Cam took a little vacation. He left the team, went away. He got his
McCaffrey played last week.
Anyway.
Did he? Yeah, he had 13 carries, 95 yards.
Okay.
And this week he's not on the injury
10
report.
receptions, 66 yards. So
yeah, and this week he's not on the injury report.
If McCaffrey's on your team, you got a shot. That dude can play. I'm happy for him. I'm just happy to see him come back. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the days of Kung Fu theater, you would go and you say, your Kung Fu has improved. When you came back, remember you go to the mountains? Y'all too young for that. You go to the mountains, come
I
back.
do remember that. Go to the mountains.
That went before they had sound. They didn't have sound in those movies.
Perfect. The sound was 3 minutes after the actual, movement of the lip. But yes.
Through, and your Kung Fu is great. So I think he went and got his Kung Fu up, and now he came back, baby, and he's ready to go. I think that's what he's been training with your boy Odell. And
were they training together?
Mm-hmm.
So Hollywood.
So Hollywood.
They so Hollywood.
He couldn't find nobody else.
He's not going to at any point be less than 6'6", 250 pounds. So I guess there's that part, right? That he's going to be a physical juggernaut for any defense. But do you think he's going to have more than just glimpses of his own self, ETP?
I think one, it's long overdue. He should have had a roster spot weeks ago when all these quarterbacks were getting injured. I'm glad to see that he's back. I'm glad to see that he's starting. And, you know, he's, if anything else, he's a leader in terms of what he's going to be able to deliver physically, you know, performance wise, remains to be seen. I think the next couple weeks he'll show out. He'll do some interesting things, but we'll see in 3 games if the tape, you know, if the other teams have kind of get the tape on him and just and show that he's lost a step. But I'm happy to see him back.
He's still gonna be big. He's always
gonna be big, but
his numbers.
But he's been banged up.
He has been. And then last year he obviously he caught COVID. That put him out. I sidelined, I think, for 2 games while he was in New England. We'll see what he's able to do, man. I like the fact that he's back too.
You think he got the shot?
Say again.
You think he got a shot?
I don't know. On that podcast, I Am Athlete with Chad Ochocinco and that whole group, Fred Taylor. Great podcast. I do like some of their takes.
Cam is vaccinated. Okay.
Yeah.
Cam is finally vaccinated?
Yeah.
You want to get
a few weeks ago.
He
realized the league went on without him.
But I'm not Aaron Rodgers. Give me right here. But on that podcast, he said, I'm definitely not I guess inferior to 32 other quarterbacks. He made that point. And as he said it, you start thinking the math, like 32 other quarterbacks better than Cam Newton? Nah. So I am happy to see he is back. That's his form of justice there. You said he gets another opportunity in Carolina. That's the way it's supposed to be, because far too often these organizations, what have you done for me lately? So I was happy to see that, you know, Sam Darnold's injury led to the opportunity, but I was happy to see that they signed him. So we'll see. Get yours, Big Cam. What else you got for us, ETP?
Yeah. Cool. So story that we talked about in the past, John Gruden, obviously emails were leaked and a lot of, you know, racist, misogynistic, homophobic terminology used, resulted in his resignation, not his termination, but his resignation. And now John Gruden is back. He's actually suing the NFL for leaking or publicizing the communications that ultimately resulted in him leaving the organization. So the question is, should he have just let this go, or do you think that he has a case to actually make for essentially righting the wrong of this becoming public information in his eyes?
We can almost see this coming, right? When all those emails were disclosed and his reputation tarnished because of the words that he wrote, Go figure. You can almost see this coming. So Big Flow Show, I don't know if you have an opinion one way or another on it, but this is not a surprise.
I look at it like this. He's ruined, right? He's not going to end up anywhere. He could potentially be an assistant coach somewhere. He's not getting back on the I'm going to stop before. I don't know. I don't think he's getting back on TV. He pissed off too many people. But why not now at this point? If you're ruined, you might as well try to get a little bit of bread. Now, do I think that he should be able to sue? Nah, I mean, they teach you this long when you're coming out. Anything you send to or on a company email address, that's why people always say when they got something bad, they say, hey, slide me your personal email address. You know something good's coming, right? Ooh, you're like, okay. So
Right.
when you send something to someone's corporate email address, you know that forever it can be subpoenaed and whatever. So I don't know what you could sue about. They should have kept it a secret that you had all this crazy stuff to say. I think that's ridiculous. So, but for him, might as well try. Everybody, no one's gonna like you any less or any more for suing. So you might try to get paid.
Yeah, and you know that they can settle if you need to. But
they'll give them a little something.
But I have a legal question. So this is a civil suit, right? So if he's suing, is he then able to, or are his attorneys able to subpoena the rest of the emails so that we could ultimately find out more than just what was disclosed about his communication, where we could see more communication around the teams and other executives within the NFL and at certain franchises? Like, is that an opportunity?
You better. Yes, I mean, any.
So ultimately, he's gonna get a bag to never do that.
Get a bag.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
they didn't want to
be settled before that.
You're like, so
not.
Yeah, you think the Colin Kaepernick proceedings inspired them to settle? Right. You talk about unveiling what could be misogynistic, racist, homophobic comments in private communications amongst owners. Yeah, that thing gonna settle in about 0.2 seconds, my brother. But I'm not surprised that John Gruden is suing, and from just a purely legal standpoint, on this day of legalese, where we are picking apart the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, I'm not guilty, and what that really means from both a proceeding standpoint, what happened in this case, and then more generally how it makes us feel on this particular day. I would say that. John Gruden probably has a strong case.
Yeah.
It just boils down to where the disclosures came from. Like, how does the NFL have a system that is susceptible to people getting in there and getting all that information? And he's probably got a strong case, to be fair.
What do you? I guess. Yeah, he's got to get a bag.
I mean, you actually just hit on the head. They can put all this other dirt out. Just pay the man.
Yeah, they're gonna pay it.
In the court of public opinion, though, does this make Gruden look worse, better, or neither?
I don't think I think he's done. It doesn't matter. He's well done. There's nothing he can do. So it doesn't matter about that. He's not going to get his name back. And if he was, this isn't going to hurt it anymore. So I would guess, to answer your question, it's neutral. The fact that he's
so no effect.
No effect.
Just because he's already too deep in the hole, basically.
Yeah. If he's going to get out of that hole, this isn't. Well, if you didn't sue,
right? You could come to the cookout.
Yeah, we could almost let you come to the cookout, but since you sued him,
we had a seat. We were so close.
We had a plate wrapped for you. Thought you must show up late. Instead, you want to drag this out. All right.
What else you got for us,
let's
man?
Let's move over to the NBA. So in NBA business news, the famous Staples Center, as Vanessa Bryant calls the house that Kobe built, is getting a new name. And
all right, before you go there, thumbs up, thumbs down. Is she right? Is the Staples Center the house that Kobe built?
No. Wait.
No.
Where did the old Lakers play?
The Lake Show
Great
wasn't
Western
that was
Forum.
that was the forum.
Yeah, then I give Staples Center the house Kobe built. Kobe and Shaq. I mean, but
Kobe.
She
might have renovated the house.
He renovated it.
That's true. I think Kobe renovated the house, but Shaq built that house.
Yeah, she said the house that Kobe built.
But because you know why? Because most people are gonna be scared to say something.
Yeah.
She's fine and he's dead. You can't say anything. Just all right.
Now we
That
can't go to
combination.
LA. That West Coast tour is canceled.
Right, cancel straight up.
So what they named the new stadium?
We're out.
So the new name, it only cost $700 million for a 20-year naming rights.
The Ball Hawk Sports Talk
The
Stadium.
the richest deal in NBA history has been secured by crypto.com.
So
So
they
it
pay
will
for
now
it in cash or in crypto?
yeah, in cryptocurrency.
They better have
NFTs.
NFTs.
So
They paid
it
in
will
Shiba.
be the crypto.com arena. So the question to you is this acceptable or is this egregious change of an institution? Egregious for the win.
It's LA, right? They start on the coast. Everything starts on the coast. It was either going to be cryptocurrency or weed.com, right? Something new and whatever, or electronic vehicles are us, something. And I think cryptocurrency is as good as anything else. And I'd like to see cryptocurrency blow because I just invested.
I personally would have loved weed.com. I say they are guilty. They are guilty of not understanding the significance. And I know, like, naming rights, and if you're willing to pay for something that means nothing, who am I not to take your money? But the Staples Center, I don't know. Look, the Staples Center, pun intended, was a staple to the minds and conversations of sport. I can't imagine talking about, man, shoot. You remember we went down to the crypto.com currency stadium arena? But it is what it is. You got to take your money.
Staples Centers was an endorsement. It's not like Staples.
Well, that's
it's not like Soldier Field, which is named after, like a historic thing. It's Staples Center. The Staples could have been called Best Buy Arena. It's called cryptocurrency. That's fine. What's the difference?
I agree, right? Like, it's people are up in arms, but it was ultimately there was naming rights before, right? There was the Staples Center. It wasn't Lakers, Lakers Arena. But that being said, the play, like you said, Soldiers Field. Once Mile High Stadium went, you knew that everything was for sale. Everything was for sale. But one of the oldest parks in the country, Wrigley Field, had a brand naming rights, Wrigley Field, right? But at the same time, if Wrigley
that's like
Field,
the original naming rights, though,
yeah,
no one even thinks about the gum when you think about Wrigley Field, because it's been that way for. I don't think it's ever been called anything else.
No, right. So if they change it to
probably
the Impossible
that
Burger,
was probably $15 when they first got it. They're like, "I'll give you $15 to call it Wrigley Field." They're like, $15? Hey, why not? Here, Wrigley Field from now on.
Yeah. So, like, if they try to change it to Beyond Meat Park, then everybody's gonna freak out.
A real suspect.
What else you got for CTP?
All right. So on that note, so the NBA has also actually secured a deal to play 2 preseason games in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi for the first time that an NBA game will be played in the Middle East.
Road trip.
That's the definition of chasing the bag, man. Abu Dhabi. How many hours? Let's look. How many hours does it take to fly?
I ain't going. I'm on IR. I ain't going. They're flying.
How long of a flight?
Do they have grass out there? Like, they got to put a stadium up for that.
You play basketball on grass?
Oh wait, I thought it was NFL. You said NBA. I'm sorry.
12 hours and 30 minutes.
The grass courts like Wimbledon. We're gonna start playing the NBA Finals at Wimbledon.
12-hour and 30-minute flight.
Blacktop. You gotta put it on indoor blacktop. Why don't even no one put blacktop inside? I digress. The big 3 should be played on indoor blacktop.
Yeah.
That's better than turning the WNBA into the big 3. I ain't gonna go there. What else you got for us, ETP?
Hard disagree.
Yeah, what else you got?
Stephen Curry,
the
greatest 3-point shooter in the history of the ball getting thrown in a peach basket, has surpassed Ray Allen for the most 3 points made ever, including regular season and playoffs, and is on track probably in the next game to beat his regular season record because he's only down by like 65 threes. So at least halftime of next game.
I ain't no
So-
mathematician, but that takes a lot of threes. 65.
Question.
Nah, 65. How many games I got left? 60.
No, he said he's gonna
By
shoot 65
halftime.
in the next game.
Oh, okay.
But he's got 30. His tally for most 3.3 games with more than nine or more 3-pointers is 38. He's had 38 games in his career with 9 3-pointers or more. Second place is, guess who is in second place?
Me.
Ray
James
Allen?
Harden.
No. Oh
with
yeah.
9. So Ray Allen,
38 to 9.
38 to 9, second place. Steph Curry has
Wow.
more games with
Shit.
9 or more 3-pointers than the
I mean,
next 5
this-
players.
Was KD up there?
No, he doesn't shoot as many
It was
threes.
Harden, Dame Lillard.
Because KD is largely, well, a lot of people consider to be the second best shooter in the NBA. What you say?
Yeah, but mid range. He's not a volume shooter when it comes to threes. So here's my question for the court: guilty or not guilty? Is Steph Curry to blame for what I would call the destruction of half court, sound, good shot basketball?
He definitely took away the mid range. It's
Yeah,
either
he
a
deleted that
dunk
shit.
or a three. No more mid range.
Is he guilty of it though? Because you think about it, like those numbers, there's a different narrative to those numbers.
He's
9
100% guilty of making bad shots acceptable shots.
Fair.
Especially you shoot the ball and turn your back to the basket.
Such an unsportsmanlike thing to do, but just because he
So
looked like he's still 8 years old, we don't even call him on it. Like because he's just
Death,
like you
death
know,
of the follow through. He don't even. He just
very
just
fast. He runs
turn
away.
around.
Well,
Well,
fun
shout out to
fact.
Steph Curry, man. Chef Curry on. That's real heat right there. When you're in the same sentence and when the sentence is played out, you're in a better position. Not only in the same sentence, but in a better position than Ray Allen. That's saying something. That's saying something.
That's
Wow,
Jesus
leaps
Shuttleworth.
and
You just
bounds.
passed up.
Yeah,
Almost
that's saying something.
600 games faster.
Wow.
So
But at the same time, Ray Allen played in an era, at the risk of sounding old as you know what, played in an era where half court basketball meant right. You didn't just come over the half court line and shoot it because nobody is guarding you. Nobody's guarding you because it's a bad shot. But Steph Curry makes them. So
it's funny because like Reggie Miller or Ray Allen arguably could have been doing or trying to do what Steph Curry was doing.
Yeah, but they
right?
got benched.
No, they
Right, that
would
was
have
a bad
gotten
shot.
they would have gotten clotheslined.
Right. This dude's like, hey man, I've been fighting to get position down. Like, you're gonna at least rotate this ball once. You're not gonna just come down here and act like I'm not on the team. I'm on the team too. Right.
Imagine like John Wooden trying to look at Steph Curry's game, be like, "What? He probably have a heart attack. What are you doing? Get him out of there!" I want to know the first time he pulled that shot off in the game. What the coach was thinking? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I mean, there were old footage, a few years back when he was taking shots and Steve Kerr was like, "No, yes."
Instead, now you see Steve Kerr tapping his forehead. Let's go, baby.
Right. So, all right. Well, we'll take it. I guess with that, is Steph Curry the MVP? Is he in the conversation for the MVP?
It's funny you said that. It's hard when people do stuff, and because I think Westbrook won MVP when he did the triple-double record, right?
Yep.
When people do major milestones, you almost have to give them, if they're in the running, you almost have to just give them something. All right, come on, man. Make him the MVP. He broke the record this year. Nobody can talk. No one can hear you, man.
I was laughing because I said that sounds like everybody gets a trophy.
It doesn't, but it's like when somebody does it, like you get 2,000 yards rushing, you go for the Heisman. You gotta at least go. You gotta at least go to New York. You get 2,000 yards.
Well, they're 13-2 right now. I called it Bucks Warriors in the finals. So if they go that far, it's gonna be hard to deny it. But I think Giannis is going for another campaign too. He dropped 47 on the Nets, missed like 3 shots.
All dunks.
He had more points in the paint than the whole Brooklyn Nets team.
He can't be stopped. It's so long.
Not at all.
Just duck.
What else you got for us, man? ETP, because I'm a Greek freak hater, so that's why I'm trying to move on.
So NCAA women's basketball, now that they are officially going to take on the branding of March Madness through the ruling or the findings of a third-party consultant that advised them to do so, they're actually expanding the field from 64 to 68, similar to the men's tournament.
So the playing games and stuff.
So they'll have the playing games to be in the field of 64, similar to the men's. So adding 4 new teams, and they actually were faster to get to 68. They started with 32 teams, I believe, in 1984, and are now at 68. So, any thoughts on that?
Are they still going to do that where they're playing at the men and women be playing the same venues?
That's not happening for at least another few years.
No,
they're still playing separate at separate locations.
I think people are going to look back and be embarrassed a few years from now when they start doing everything the same with women and they realize that the viewership is going to be very comparable. Someone's going to be embarrassed and be like, man, I can't believe this whole time we just didn't do anything and we expected it to work.
That's what I'm thinking as I hear we're guilty of waiting way too long to do this. The quality of basketball, especially the collegiate level, for women's basketball has been sound forever. Now, we could argue until the cows come home, which we have done here on this show, when we compare NBA and WNBA. But when it comes to college basketball, no one with a rational view would say that those have been two very different products. There have been some great women basketball players. We just talked about Reggie Miller. Well, Reggie was known as somebody else's brother. Because Cheryl was the one. Like that, this isn't new to have high quality, great basketball from a women's college basketball perspective. So when I hear, I'm like, we're guilty of just being way too late to the party when it comes to this. I'm happy that we're doing it. And you know, talk about reparations. There's so many women who have excelled at the collegiate level that never got an opportunity to be household names. And so that's why I like name, image, and likeness, because I think the women, pound for pound, have been mistreated even more when it comes to exploitation of college athlete. You put in the same amount of work, do the same amount of practices. You know, do you contribute to the same bottom line in terms of the institution? No, but that in itself is not the doing of the women athletes. It's because the business people, the athletic directors included, couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't see the forest for the trees and understand that good sport will find sports fans, or vice versa. Sports fans will find good sport. We're going to go see it, right? We're going to go see it. So I just hate that we've waited so long. So many generations of women in college that were great athletes didn't get the recognition and the exposure that they so justly deserved. That's what I have to say on that.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, so this is actually good timing for NIL, right? So given this platform, you have more teams, so there could be more deals and opportunities for these women's teams or these players on the women's teams now that it's opened it up, and they're going to get more exposure through the tournament. So it's all good news.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah,
and then we'll close out on a. What's that?
No, I was just going to say, for those who have been living under a rock and not being or haven't been participating in our show, NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. It is the way in which college athletes can be paid by a third-party source. And we've talked about it a lot here on the show. And we do think that the non-revenue generating sports, whether it be male or female, are going to benefit the most from that payment source. But go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. And then last topic, unrelated or indirectly related to sports. Hip-hop artist Young Dolph obviously was visiting his hometown in Memphis, actually one of his favorite cookie bakeries, and at the time was gunned down and murdered, and obviously has sent a big set of shockwaves through the entertainment industry. A lot of athletes had relationships with him, and obviously he was known for being a strong contributor to his community and, helping to raise awareness of issues in this community, but was killed yesterday. And just wanted to make sure that we've been talking about gun violence. We talked about Rittenhouse, and obviously this is a tragic story of somebody that had surpassed those challenges, but obviously gun violence permeates every part of our society.
He was 36 at his death, and I didn't realize he was 36. He seemed even younger to me, but 36 is way too young to go at the hands of something so senseless. Here's my question. Guilty or not guilty, the culture, as we like to refer to it. Are we guilty of creating an environment such that the old cliche is art imitate life, is life imitate art, that rhetorical question, is the culture guilty of creating this environment where life is trying to imitate the art, such that while it should be inexplicable to think that someone is going in their own hometown, one in which they represent very well, a young man that has a lot of both music, but more importantly, life in front of him, could be going to pick up some cookies. It should be like, how does that happen, right? This should not make sense to us. But yet and still, when you heard the news, I'll speak for myself, you weren't utterly shocked. And that feeling, that feeling to me, I mean, because he was shot up, his car was shot up like 2 years ago in Miami, I think. So that feeling of, similar to the Rittenhouse verdict, that feeling of, well, that's not a shock, says something about the culture that we've allowed to exist. And I say we because I'm a part of the hip hop culture. I know I don't dress the same I used to be. I think I'm still a part of hip hop culture.
You look like an old Kanye West version.
Yeah, I just came off the plane, man. I was going to put on my hoodie before I did this part.
We should put one of your albums on the intro.
I ain't mess with you, man. But as hip hop enthusiasts, are we guilty to have a culture that has existed, that we've allowed to continue, that suggests that young Dolph being killed in his hometown of Memphis is anything but a surprise?
I think, I mean, when you say create, I would absolutely say that this culture, the music, the entertainment side of it did not create any of this reality, right? Like,
okay,
this reality is created by a lot of different dynamics of systemic challenges and historic issues that have functioned in our society since it started. So I would have absolutely not say created. I would say that it in many ways is validated, perpetuated, and promoted by the art forms, and the industries that profit off of it are making no attempts to change that direction. Like, there's no intention of trying to have a level of responsible media presentation around what's being promoted, what's being glorified. And there's always this tension with the hip hop culture and music of, well, there's action movies and you see Al Pacino killing people, it's just a movie, when there's other cultures and we don't criticize that. But there's no assumption of authenticity in those necessarily, where it is in hip hop culture. When you have artists that come from these situations that are talking about things that are adjacent or surrounding their lifestyles,
right,
then it does add to some level of glorification of reality.
Right,
which
right.
Art can imitate life and life can imitate art, right?
Big Flo Show, what do you think?
I mean, maybe to a small percentage, in my opinion. I mean, I think ETP hit it on the head. I mean, the mob and mafia was around well before Goodfellas, Scarface, all those type of movies that come out. Do the people do that more when the movies come out? No, I don't think. I think that it runs its course. Are there a couple goofies that are out there that I don't know, that someone starts shooting people because of the music? Maybe, maybe I give my I don't know, maybe I give our people too much credit, but people have been selling drugs and they've been in the street shooting each other long before rap music came along, right? And rap music came along and they did kind of glorify it. I think you get a lot of pretenders from there, people who try to act like they're involved in something. So I don't know nothing about Young Dolph. Unfortunately, I don't know his music at all. But maybe he was somebody who perpetuated himself into a lifestyle that he really wasn't into and got shot. I could see that happening. But people have been shooting each other and killing each other since, they've been killing each other since before guns. Things like that's been happening. There's been a criminal element in society forever. I do think the culture makes people try to look like people who might kill somebody, but I don't know
Mhm.
that makes you a killer. I grew up loving hip hop and being influenced, and I wasn't one of y'all little dudes that like to put bandanas on my head and look like Pac. I wasn't doing all that, but we both have a friend that wore bandanas every day, looking like he was Tupac or whatever, and now this dude is a very successful uh multi-degree it's like a youthful thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, it's just culture. So I have a hard time when people try to blame it on the culture. I just do, because movies and other things like that have been glorifying violence. Every time you turn TV, they're glorifying violence in some way, shape, or form. You start find yourself rooting for the bad guys in movies
Yeah.
and stuff, but it doesn't make you want to go out and be a bad guy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, but there's a social currency, I think, of like coming from certain areas where there's more violence, where there's more crime. Like I guess what I was saying was, yeah, it's not creating the situation, but it's creating this social currency of like the more criminalistic, the more violent, the more hustling and illegal activities and materialism and all of the things, misogyny, all of the things that come with hip hop. As much as I love hip hop, it celebrates those elements of the culture that I do think influence how people operate.
I think the goofy people that get influenced by that and do that, we're going to do it anyway. I think anybody who can listen to a rap song and decide that they want to go shoot somebody up is such a goofy that they were going to end up in that situation anyway. That's just my personal opinion. There's too many kids out here who listen to that stuff that don't do it. And the ones that would do it weren't thinking, man, I was going to go to college, man. But then I heard Jay-Z talk about how he slang, and I started slanging. That dude he was probably on a collision course with slanging anyway. That's just my opinion.
but just and not again, but because the show is called Not Guilty, and we're dealing with the aftermath of Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, I'll share from a legal perspective. Like if I leave in my yard a whole bunch of hazardous materials with the gate open, a reasonable person would assume that that's going to invite a kid who doesn't have the mental capacity and wherewithal to not deny his impulse to go in there and play with those hazardous items. It's reasonable to say I am negligent because of that. And again, I'm off on a tangent talking with legalese, but I use that analogy to say I'm saying guilty, self-included. We have to know that there is enough people in our community that don't have the capacity to deny the impulses, that listen to that music and think that it is so real that they're going to go out and try to live that life. And you're right, ETP. It wasn't created by the culture, but at the same time, and I won't stick to Young Dolph, because more importantly, I instead of making him the example, I will say prayers and condolences go to his family. That man left a child, at least one child, people who love him, friends, people. We hear it from a fan perspective, but he has real family that's dealing with a real tragedy now, and that's not something that just goes from a diss record to now a footnote on Wikipedia. There's a family impacted by that. So I'll say, not to speak specifically about Young Dolph, but you're right, ETP. It wasn't created by the culture, but at the same time, you don't hear many in the culture outside of Killer Mike, occasionally T.I., occasionally Andre 3000, talking about solutions to the problems, the systemic problems that you have acknowledged. right? It's talking about the problems and glorifying the problems. And so I'm going to say guilty, community, self-included, that it's up to us to change the messages that are being conveyed through the music. It's up to us to change the nature of the culture such that a man going to get some cookies in his hometown should not be in risk of losing his life. The Tupac Biggie saga, that's 96, 97. You know, that's 25 years ago. Is my math right? I'm bad. I don't like doing math publicly. Roughly 25. All right. Yeah, roughly. but that's 25 years ago. And how's this any different? Right? Immediately fingers are pointed at Yo Gotti because of their beef, and Soulja Boy, who had made some public comment about, you know, I put 100,000 on his head. Immediately goes to a figure that should be equally responsible for the platform and encouraging those who look like him that are also victims of a system that doesn't encourage education, that doesn't give the same opportunities to those in the wrong zip code or in the wrong tax bracket. The message should be a lot more positive. So I'm going to say guilty, and it's up to us to change that. And I'll let you guys respond, if you will, before we go home for the day. But we had no intentions today. This was a freestyle Friday, ETP, the producer's cut, led us. But I like where we are in terms of this topic. I don't know if you guys have any parting shots before we get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say to that is another key point is in Tennessee, they actually just passed legislation recently where you can carry a concealed weapon, open carry state, without a permit. So that's raising questions around gun control. And, you know, if legislation continues to be passed that loosens gun laws, do we see more issues like this?
Right.
Not just of celebrities, but across various communities, but it's very specific to Tennessee. And that's been called out as a major driving force to any new changes in terms of gun violence.
Right. What do you think of there's a Chicagoan amongst us? I mean, every summer we strap on our seatbelts and wait for the numbers to come out, knowing that Chirac, as it's been referred to, you're on mute, Reg. Well, we
715 homicides this year to date.
Yeah, we don't. I don't know what makes you think we wait until the summer.
No,
over the holidays.
When I say we, like every summer, I look for the Chicago numbers because I know that they're going to be.
And I'm telling you, those numbers are out in February, March, April. By the time summer's going on, they actually take vacation from that. And I don't want to make light of it, but it is so numbing how often people get killed here. What's even more numbing is how unoften you ever see anybody arrested for it. They never say the murderer of so-and-so has been caught. The only time you get caught for murder, and this is why the murder is so bad in Chicago, this is my public service address, is if you kill somebody who's somebody. So when the girl, and I'm sorry, I'm not gonna remember her name, who just came back from speaking with the father of Obama, she got killed, they caught her like that. Jennifer Hudson's family member got killed, caught him like that. Dwayne Wade had a family member killed, caught him like that. Chicago don't give a damn. So it's not about the culture. It's just they don't care. The only way you're going to get in trouble is if you kill somebody who doesn't look like you, or if you kill somebody who happens to be affiliated with somebody else. Other than that, let them go. Cops don't care. The government doesn't care. It doesn't matter. So they're killing people. So rap culture is not to blame for that. The people who are killing are to blame as well. But the reason the society doesn't care. They just talk about it every once in a while, but nobody cares.
Well, here on the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, we do care. And I'm glad we had this topic this morning, or it's not this morning. This is our version of this morning. It's morning somewhere.
Someplace.
This episode is not guilty. We were initially responding to the recent verdict of the Kyle Rittenhouse Kenosha trial. And what we came to the conclusion is none of us were surprised by it, but we wanted to figure out where to go from here. And we plead with anyone who will listen to make sure that any protests in response to the verdict are just that, protests and not riots, because that is essentially how this Kyle Rittenhouse story came to be. And we just hope that everyone is safe. Protect yourself, protect yourselves, protect your family. And We'll get back to the normal time next week after the East Orange Junior Jaguars go out and win this regional championship. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. Those who are in our live audience, again, we ask you, like we ask you every week, and we ask you humbly, please like, please comment, please share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and subscribe in both the YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel, and in the podcast space. What's up, my man Hank? Shout out 110 years 2 days ago. The Brothers of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated celebrated 110 years. It was our Founders Day on November 17th, 2021. We celebrated 110 years as we were founded in 1911 on November 17th. I would be remiss if I didn't say that. Rude to the Q's. Join us next week. It's the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy B Brown ESQ, aka the Ball Hawk, aka the Mouth of the South, aka Mr. Excessive Celebration, aka Breezy. We out. It was fun. We were here. It was a producer cut with ETP, else the producer, the Big Flow Show. It was rough, rugged, and raw like it always is. It was sports, business, and entertainment as it always is. Catch us next week because we is out. Let's go, Jags.